Observe the solitary male, descending once more into the habitat, once ruled by his offspring and their prolific crayon-based civilization. For 3 years, this was a domain of chaos, cartoons and cracker crumbs. But now it lies silent, waiting for its next evolution, armed with a red bucket of unknown purpose. Possibly ceremonial, our subject begins phase 1 of the grand reclaiming. Step 1, construct the sanctuary of the teenage male, a critical step in securing domestic harmony. But this is no ordinary renovation. This is the beginning of something much bigger. Echoes of a once thriving nest remain, but like all great habitats, change is inevitable. This is the tale of a basement reborn. A 4-part journey through sawdust, drywall and questionable design choices. And it begins now. Our subject begins a sacred ritual, known to scholars as the rough frame shuffle, measuring not once, but thrice, before forgetting what he was measuring in the first place. His plan? To construct a narrow hallway between 2 future kingdoms, the lair of the teenager and the office of obsession, where editing will happen, poorly lit monologues will be filmed, and sanity will slowly erode. And of course, a closet, because apparently teenagers come with accessories. In the wild, the Homo sapien DIY getter Donius faces his greatest challenge yet, an uneven ceiling. And rather than raise the ceiling or lower the floor, he chooses the noble path of notching. Precision is key here. So naturally, he eyeballs it. Many would consult a router, a chisel, perhaps even math. But our subject, he chooses violence. What follows is a relentless flurry of saw blade fury. 1 pass, 2 passes, 3,700.5 passes later, a groove begins to emerge. With the delicacy of a rabid beaver, he extracts each wooden tooth with a hammer, one brutal thwack at a time. This isn't woodworking, it's wood smackery. Some would smooth it with a chisel, others with sandpaper. He brandishes a hammer like an angry wizard, scraping with the confidence of a man who knows. This will be covered by drywall anyway. It may not be square, it may not be smooth, but it fits. And in the world of self-taught construction, that, dear viewer, is as good as a gold medal. Function achieved, confidence intact, flaws hidden, we move on. Precision in this habitat is a rare and elusive creature. Here we observe the Homo sapien DIY getter-done-aus, attempting to outwit a feral 2x4 with nothing but a tape measure and sheer bravado. And now the ritual sacrifice of wood. The saw roars with approval as piece after piece is offered up in a whirlwind of sawdust and questionable measurements. Having survived the cutting process with most limbs intact, the builder returns to his den to perform the sacred rite of dry fitting, a fancy term for seeing if the thing actually fits. And with that brute force prevails, some use levels, others finesse, but he uses the ancient art of Neanderthal. Effective, loud, satisfying. The creature approaches the frame with confidence and compressed air. Having just completed a dry fit of the lumber, he now feels the ancient stirrings of dominance. Tool in hand. Chest slightly puffed, he channels his inner Tim the Toolman Taylor. The first nail sinks in beautifully. Victory is in sight. But what's this? The gun jams, the angle is off, the universe frowns. He slowly realizes the ammunition is not his own. No, these are 23-degree nails, and his soul is calibrated for 21. With a sigh, he tosses the offending fasteners aside, and the faint smell of ego slightly bruised. He may lack the proper nail, but what he does have is a box of overpriced screws, and zero hesitation. Screw by screw, this stubborn creature reinforces his creation with overpriced bolts of steel and raw determination. But alas, the real challenge is not the wall, it's getting back up. Old bones don't bounce. He lifts, he slides, he smacks it with a hammer, and behold it, it's level. Miracles do happen, even a broken clock is right a couple times a day. And now the builder turns his attention to the sacred art of anchoring. Having never used this particular method before, he proceeds with the kind of cautious optimism normally reserved for IKEA instructions. He bores pilot holes like a man who means business, then deploys a masonry bit as if unlocking ancient secrets hidden beneath the slab. Enter the wedge anchor, A device so simple even a Neanderthal can do it.
Not cool.
I did not know you were there. I can
Tap it in, bolt it down, and suddenly this wall isn't going anywhere, much like the builder himself once he's sat down after this segment. After a flurry of measuring, marking and cutting, our brave builder readies the next wall section. A flawless execution in theory, backed by math, experience and pure unshakable optimism. The measurements were precise, but the ceiling, not so much. Thus begins the ancient ritual of reconstruction, a solemn dance between man and mildly crooked infrastructure. A minor trim to correct the sins of optimism. Classic. Ah yes, the noble decision to use screws instead of nails, perhaps not for speed but for future regret mitigation. Observe this unconventional support strategy. Some might call it improvisation, others might call it instinct. Either way, it worked, and that's really all that matters in DIY evolution. And with the confidence of a man who's rebuilt this wall once already, a gentle persuasion with the hammer. Just enough to say please without filing an insurance claim. And look, she fits, like a glove that's been through a few winters. But alas, squareness remains elusive. A cruel joke played by the original builders and a basement ceiling with commitment issues. So he escalates, wedge anchors enter the fray, not just for masonry. They're a statement, stay right there. The hammer strikes again, not once, not twice, but just enough times to call it fine-ish. And with a final flurry of screws and size, the wall is secured, not perfectly, but firmly and really. Isn't that what we all aspire to do? In the wilds of the basement frontier, the builder begins an unusual ritual, framing out mysterious holes left behind by the ancient ones. These so-called window openings offer no view, no light, and yet they remain. A design choice? A mistake? A cry for help? We may never know. Precision is key until it isn't. Then it's just vibes and a screw gun. Observe the noble builder, measuring twice, cutting once, and occasionally getting it right on the third try. Minor recalibrations are all part of the ritual. Some call it problem solving, others call it winging it. The 2x4s are placed with swift confidence, each one contributing to the illusion of purpose, like IKEA furniture without the existential dread. It's less engineering, more creative carpentry. Still counts. And there it is, the voids tamed, the wall more Wally. And though these frames shall never house glass, they contain something far greater, closure, another victory for the DIY warrior. Another mystery framed literally. Here we witness the ancient art of just making it fit, not to be confused with doing it right. Now, observe the elegant symmetry, or don't. It's probably slightly off, but much like abstract art, it's the effort that counts. In the heart of this suburban wilderness, where dreams of leisure and sanctuary collide, our intrepid craftsman has completed the skeletal framework of his subterranean realm. A man cave destined for legend, with a curious annex for the young apprentice, his stepson. Now begins the sacred rite of enclosure. With drywall in hand, our hero embarks on a noble quest to clad these bare bones in smooth, unblemished walls. It's a task requiring precision, patience, and possibly a chiropractor. And as the first sheet rises, a transformation begins, like turning a garden shed into Buckingham Palace. If the royal guards wore sweatpants and gamed till midnight, this is no longer just a basement. It's becoming hallowed ground. And while the apprentice may dwell here, make no mistake, he's merely renting space in the legend of Dad's domain. The great purge of the basement domain begins. With drywall scraps strewn about like the shed antlers of some great beast, he gathers them with the diligence of a badger tidying its burrow. Tools, once wielded with the fervour of a knight, are now carefully stowed, each finding its rightful place, lest a stray hammer disrupt the harmony of this nascent man cave. And then, with broom in hand, our hero sweeps the floor, banishing dust, debris and possibly a few lingering regrets. This is no mere cleaning. It is a sacred preparation, a ritual as old as time, or at least as old as last weekend's DIY marathon. For in the world of sawdust and self-tapping screws, a clean floor means one thing only: the mudding shall soon begin, a process as smooth as a well-brewed cup of coffee and twice as messy. Thus the stage is set, pristine and poised, for the next chapter in this epic of suburban legend. In the hallowed depths of this embryonic man cave, our steadfast artisan embarks on the arcane ritual known only as mudding, a process as chaotic as a flock of starlings, yet as vital as a well-timed lunch break. With each swipe of the trowel, he murmurs the sacred mantra, "Trust the process." A phrase spoken often, believed occasionally. The seams and screws, like bashful woodland sprites, require just enough mud to vanish from view. Too little, and the wall sulks. Too much, and he'll sand until his arm falls off. Ever the cautious optimist, he applies compound with the precision of a man buttering toast, who knows there's only one slice left. But lo, another challenge. For where new drywall meets the ancient wall of yore, the mystical flats, those helpful indentations are nowhere to be found, gone, vanished, like his patience after the third coat. Still the work continues, taping, mudding, smoothing, from one side of the chamber to the other. It is not glamorous, it is not thrilling. In fact, it's about as riveting as watching beige paint dry in slow motion, twice. But the DIY warrior knows glory is not born of ease. It is forged in dust, drywall and dad-level determination. And so, with each imperfect swipe, he shapes not just walls but legend. A sanctuary for the ages, or at least for one teenager and his laundry pile. In preparation for the great dusting, our craftsman takes a moment to engage in one of DIY's most underrated arts, containment. With the precision of a tailor crafting a bespoke hazmat suit, he drapes a plastic drop cloth over the doorway, a shimmering membrane between order and chaos. At the far edge of the chamber, a humble box fan takes its post in the window, humming like a budget jet engine. But lo, a twist! For affixed to this valiant turbine is a furnace filter, not just any filter, but a noble square of lint-clogged defiance. Together they form a rudimentary yet brilliant air control system, allowing airflow out but trapping the dreaded sanding dust like a moth in a spiderweb. Thus, the sacred space beyond, the future man cave and its neighbouring office domain, remains a sanctuary unsullied by airborne grit. Donning his mask with the solemnity of a knight preparing for battle, our fearless builder readies himself for the great sanding. A dusty rite of passage where chaos is tamed and rough intentions are smoothed into purpose. In one hand, a palm sander, buzzing with anticipation. And in the other, he is holding up the shop vac, like a loyal squire tethered to a slightly underpaid warhorse. And so the ritual begins. Seams once jagged are coaxed into civility. High spots are humbled. The air, thick with potential dust storms, is swiftly cleared by his humming vacuum sentinel, an unsung hero guarding the greater basement realm. Each pass of the sander is a whispered mantra: trust the process. For while it may look like he's just polishing drywall with existential regret, he knows the truth. Smooth walls await, like buried treasure beneath a beige blizzard. This is not merely sanding. This is sculpting a sanctuary, a haven for the teens' Xbox dreams and, yes, the inevitable teenage dirty laundry avalanche. In the shadowed depths of this emerging man cave, our noble craftsman resumes his quest, applying the second coat of mud with the care of a gardener tending rare orchids. But just as momentum builds, the call of duty rings out. Not drywall duty, real duty. On-call hospice nurse duty. I'll return in a couple of days, he declares, unaware that fate and family have other plans. Days later, he re-enters expecting chaos, dust and maybe drywall regret. Instead, the impossible. It's finished. Not by his hand. Oh no. This reeks of domestic intervention and the stealthy work of wife and stepchildren, the drywall fairies in disguise. He could protest, but he won't. He's married, he knows better. Behold, the ancient rite of time travel. One clap, one outfit change, one LED-lit sanctuary where framing once stood. With 2 thumbs up and a silent nod, our hero accepts this unsolicited blessing. This is the way. In the beginning there was chaos, a floor of mystery stains, walls whispering stories from years past, and one brave teen who dared to dream. With a style all his own, somewhere between gamer chic and organized tornado, young Jack set forth to claim his space. He may not be Joanna Gaines, but he's definitely got the flair of a Gen Z Bob Ross. If Bob Ross collected RC cars and Nerf guns, every corner tells a tale. Awards of valor, pixel-lit shelves of honor, and musical instruments ready for battle, or at least late-night jam sessions. Here lies the throne, ergonomic LED lit and facing the portal to infinite digital adventures. It's not just a room, it's a fortress of solitude with Wi-Fi. And as the hero settles into his lair, 2 thumbs up and not a care in the world. One truth remains eternal. Style is subjective, but comfort, that's non-negotiable.